Hello, I'm Albert Cabestany, former professional trail rider, and today we're gonna talk of how to move the bike sideways, front and back wheel. In a past video, if you remember, we learned how to turn with the bike, being precise, smooth. We make a square in the ground and we learn how to use the clutch and gently move the bike and the body to turn properly. But what happens when the room is more tight, more narrow? We are forced to move the bike, and we can make it both with both wheels at the same time, but this we will leave for another video. And how we're going to learn today, moving the front wheel or moving the back wheel. We will start with the front wheel, and we're going to make it first of all with the engine stop, just to learn how to move the body, how to use the suspensions, how to use the brake, to make it easier and simpler. The first thing you can try is making uphill. You put the front wheel higher than the rear wheel, and that would make it easier for you to lift the front wheel and to make the bike lighter. So as you can see in the image, we brake with the rear brake, so we have one point where the rear wheel is stopped, and using the front suspension, not with much effort because we are uphill and the bike is light, remember, we're gonna make a small compression down and we're gonna use the rebound going up of the front suspension tight with the brake on the back and lifting with our arms, and we gently gonna move the wheel, both sizes, just to understand how it's moving. How we're gonna make it to go to one side to the other. When we are going up, we're gonna move the shoulders towards the direction we want to go, and then the arms, when we are lifting, will follow your body position. I think it's a good advice if you can afford. Remember that you also learned in the past video how to handle the balance properly and quite easy, reach it quite easy. So my advice is that every move you make with the front wheel, try to stop it and recover the balance. Or in case you're gonna make it more in a row, let's say 2, 3 or 4 movements in a row, that when you want to make it, that when you want to recover the balance, you are capable. That's a good exercise because many people start to move the bike, you're gonna move left, right, all the sides, all the time, and when you want to stop, you keep moving and you put the foot on the floor. So a good advice is try to make it. I know it's harder, but every movement you make, try to reach the balance. Then you will improve in both ways, moving the bike and reaching the balance. So it's a double exercise. Once we reach this way, next step is going to a flat surface. It's going to be basically the same, but this time a little bit harder. Let's say physically harder, because you don't have the help of this uphill, so you need to make this effort with the body and with suspension. Let's say the same, but applying more effort from your side, compressing a little bit more in the front, then pulling up a little bit harder. And remember, when we want to go to one or to the other side, we're going to bring the shoulders there so we can reach it later. Again, we need to try to hold the balance again. That will mean that we have the control of the situation. And to finish, let's say a simpler way regarding the physical effort is doing the same with the engine. We're gonna start the bike, and using the clutch and the power of the engine, we're gonna use all these two elements to make it even simpler regarding the effort. But it will be more difficult because it's more complex. You have to pull up the wheel, to compress the suspension, to let go the clutch, to have a little bit of power of the engine. So that means there are more things that should be synchronized. But when you learn how to apply, you will need to do much more effort from your side. Take care, because in here the key is the clutch. We're gonna do it again uphill. It's gonna make it easier because you don't need to be so precise. In case you make a small mistake with the clutch, the same uphill will stop the movement, so the mistake will be shorter. And when you reach it, we're going to do it again on the flat surface. But let's do with this order. Uphill with the engine stop, then on the flat with the engine stop, then we start the engine and we do it the same using the clutch. So I want you to try it now. And now it's time to do the same with the back wheel. This time we're going to do it downhill instead of uphill. We're going to place the front wheel on the ground, rear wheel a little bit higher, and the same movement. We hold the front brake and we bring the weight of our body from back to front, because we make this change of forces, of weights, from the back to the front. That will make us lifting the rear wheel. Quite easy, you will see. As the steep is the downhill, the easier it will be. So it's a good way to start. As always, engine stop. And when we want to throw the wheel from one side or the other, we're going to make it, instead of moving the shoulders, we're going to move the middle part of the body towards this side. That will throw the bike towards the side we are pointing with that part of the body. When we reach it this way, again the same, we're going to go to a flat surface. You will see that this time it's harder. Why? Because our body, our foots are more on the rear side of the bike than in the front. That makes that this part of the bike is heavy, we have no engine. So we need to apply the forces, the same that we were doing before on the downhill, but much more than any time before. Because what we are saying, our body weight is on the back, so we need to make this change of masses, of weight, from back to front, braking hard, and trying to use this inertia you take, moving the weights, to lift the rear wheel, and then moving the mid side of the body towards one side of the other. You will see that this is hard. You will sweat a lot, I promise you. And finally, again, if we're gonna use the engine, we're gonna make it simpler. Probably in this case, with the engine, it's even easier than doing with the front wheel. Why? Because we just need to make some movement with the clutch and the engine to take this inertia, to make these changes of weights from the place we are now to the front, and that will make the lift much easier. Look now in the images how I lift higher, and also I make larger movements. Why? Because I just move the bike from where I'm standing to the front, change this inertia to the front, change this weight to the front, braking, moving my body from back to front, and it becomes much easier. The movement is not that tricky. The clutch, you don't need to be so precise because you want to be reactive. Instead, remember that when we want to move the front wheel, we need to be really gentle with the clutch. In here, it's important, but not that much. So you have a lot of job to do. I promise it's gonna work. And that's all regarding this technique. A lot of work to do, I promise. It's hard work, but once you reach it, everything becomes much more simple. You manage to place the bike wherever you want and to reach the perfect spot to make what is coming next. So I hope you enjoy it, I hope it's useful for you, and don't forget to visit the site for future videos. Bye bye!